we have Alexander in Chile. Welcome, Alexander. How are you?
Hello, I'm pretty good, thank you.
It says here that the Kalam argument convinced you, and you found it the most persuasive argument for theism. Is that right?
Yes. One of the, I think that the most persuasive argument for theism in general is the cosmological argument.
I'm confused.
The lady who offered my,
Well, I'm confused because the Kalam cosmological argument, I'll just go ahead and state it real quick, and you can verify that this is the argument. The Kalam cosmological argument is everything that begins to exist has a cause for its existence. The universe began to exist. The premise is the universe began to exist, and the conclusion is, therefore, the universe had a cause for its existence.
Exactly.
That's the whole argument. And at no point in there does the word God appear? Does the word theism appear? How can this be an argument for theism when theism, neither theism nor God, are included in any of the premises or the conclusion?
Yeah, instead of specifically theism with TH, maybe the argument is serviceable for deism with D.
No, it's not.
It's not. Belief, but in the sense of an abstract belief that there is someone beyond the universe who created it. Do you not believe it?
Alexander, the argument does, the conclusion of the argument is that therefore the universe had a cause. It doesn't tell you anything about what the cause is. It doesn't say the cause has to be a God or a being or anything else. So the Kalam cosmological argument is not an argument for God or theism on its own. You have to add something to it. So if you became convinced of theism, what's that?
Yeah, I agree with you, but you will agree with me also that even if the argument doesn't specifically or explicitly lead to theism, it's still compatible with theism.
Okay, you know what else is compatible with theism? Everything that isn't non-theism.
Everything.
Yeah, I know. But what I mean is that there is a way in which the conclusion of the Kalam cosmological argument, which of course stems from its premises, enables belief in theism in a very abstract way.
No, it doesn't.
When I say that it's the most...
Alexander.
Let me finish this real quick.
No, I'd rather not, because I don't want to waste people's time. I'm trying to get to a very specific point. If you became convinced of theism because of the Kalam, that's like saying, you might as well say, I became convinced of atheism because of the Kalam. Because when I look at the Kalam cosmological argument, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, no, continue, go on.
If I look at the Kalam cosmological argument, it doesn't mention God or theism. All it says is the universe had a cause. And in the way that you've concluded, there must be a God that, or likely could be a God that was the cause. I could conclude that there's a multiverse that serves as the cause, and therefore there's no need for that. So I'm fine with you reaching whatever conclusion you've reached. But to say that you are more convinced of theism because of the Kalam cosmological argument means that you don't understand arguments, because the argument does not support in any way what you say it does.
Yeah, maybe I made a mistake by beginning with that. When I say that it's the most persuasive, I really mean that it's the most or the least offensive in terms of or at least it's the easiest argument to deal with. Another argument that I will offer you, for theism specifically, or not really for theism, but for supernaturalism, would be to ask you, what do you think?
I'm sorry, you broke up. You were going to present an argument for the supernatural, and all I heard was, what do you think?
For supernaturalism, yeah. So, sorry.
What is it? What is your argument for supernaturalism?
The argument, not really an argument, but rather a question. I would like to ask you, what do you think is the reason behind the overview effect, which is something that astronauts experience when exposed to the sight of the Earth from space? And they experience one moment of...
Alexander, pause. I'm trying to understand you. The phone has broken up a couple of times. You're asking me, what do I think is the reason behind what?
The overview effect. Did you hear me?
Overview effect?
Exactly.
I don't know what the overview effect is.
The overview effect is something that astronauts experience after they've been exposed to the sight of the planet Earth from space. Sorry.
So I would say that okay. You're asking me what is my explanation for that? I don't know. Phil, I'm going to go with the human brain. What's your explanation?
I'm kind of at a loss because I'm not really big on arguments from a conceptual standpoint. And we started from nonsense and we've gotten worse, I think, on this call. But yeah, I mean, maybe the one point that I might agree with is that the Kalam is the best argument and it's awful. So maybe if the point was this was the best of all the awful arguments, okay, but it's still an awful argument. It doesn't get you anywhere close to where you claim that it did. And I would wager, and of course you can tell me if it's the case or not, is this argument what made you a Christian?
No.
So it didn't even work for you?
It's not enough at all, no.
Yeah,
okay.
So it didn't work for you, it doesn't work for anybody.
There is a lot of things that you have to see, or there's a lot of things that you have to think about before even beginning to accept the broad brush strokes in Christianity, in my opinion. There's a lot of you have to accept.
So here's the problem, Alexander.
That there are unexplainable things.
Here's the problem. So you said you were going to present an argument for the supernatural, and then when I rightly pointed out that you were asking a question, you pointed out, okay, it's not an argument, it's a question. And so your question is,
the reason
please stop interrupting when I'm trying to address you. You asked me, what is my explanation for the overview effect? Now, the overview effect for those people is evidently something that some astronauts have experienced when they get out into space and they look down at Earth and they see that it's a ball, and it puts everything in perspective, that we are just one species on a tiny little blue dot in there. There's nothing about the overview effect that in any way suggests anything supernatural. It is entirely about the psychology of human beings recognizing how insignificant they are in the grand scheme of the universe. Nothing about that points to anything supernatural. Nothing about that points to anything related to God. So why did you ask me for my explanation?
The reason I ask you about this is because I want to know why you think this happens. Why human beings have such a indescribable moment of beauty and calmness when exposed to the sight of a planet that we're not. That it's an environment in which we didn't evolve. We didn't evolve to see that. So how is it so intuitive?
We did evolve to see that, and I already answered your question. It's not surprising for people to get an epiphany when the scope of their experience changes. If you have only lived in a small town for your entire life and you've never traveled to a big city, when you go to a big city, you have an overwhelming experience of, wow, here's all this stuff that I didn't even know about. Similarly, the first time you get on a plane and fly and start to see, you can have that sort of thing. All that's happening here is that your mind is beginning to grasp that what it understood before is only a small part of the picture. But nothing about that points to anything supernatural. It's about our limited brains and how they recognize things.
I mean, the reason I think about this stuff is because reading about that experience reminds me awfully of the verse in Psalm 8:3 that you probably already know about.
I don't know it off the top of my head, no.
Do you want me to read it to you? I don't know if that's allowed.
Sure. Psalm 8:3.
I mean, Psalm 8:3 says, when I consider you heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon of the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them.
Yeah, okay. So what?
These people have this moment of awe without having seen the earth, which is replicated in the experience
Alexandra.
have gone out from space to see the earth.
Alexandra, what difference does the Bible verse make? The Bible verse is reaffirming what I've said. The fact that somebody concludes there's a God just because they've had their eyes opened to something more than their initial limited experience doesn't mean that there is a God. What difference does it make what it says in Psalms other than, hey, here's what humans experience? The fact is, humans have looked at the world and concluded there was a God behind all of it for ages, but that doesn't mean there's a God behind it.
But I don't even begin to understand how a naturalistic worldview explains why we would have evolved to see that or to experience that.
We didn't evolve with any intent at all. There's no plan behind evolution other than our survival.
You're right.
And so, please let me finish. Can I finish? My eyes allow my brain to perceive visual information about the universe. That benefits me. When I see Phil and I see him blinking, I know that his machine hasn't locked up and I see him waving. When I see a cat, I know a cat from a bear. That type of information is useful. All that's happening here is that the person from the small town sees a big town, and that gives them information that benefits them. Similarly, the person who ends up in an airplane or in a spacecraft looking down at Earth is seeing and gaining information that they did not have before. All of that is evolutionarily beneficial.
All right. Well, that took care of that, I guess.
Okay. I guess we lost Alexander in Chile.